Hello everybody and welcome back to the Grand Prestige League. We are here in Spa-Francorchamps here in Belgium for round 3 of our WEC category. So it's going to be a fun day here today. I am back in the commentary box. I know we had some fun at Dragon Trail last time out in both WEC and SWT. It's going to be fun. Quite a few drivers here today. I'm still waiting to find out. It may just be me today in the commentary box. My co-commentator who would normally be with me, B20D, is currently vibing in a Porsche. He may be joining us a bit later on today. But so far, so good. We are currently in a practice session. I believe we are actually waiting on some drivers. Some drivers got stuck in the purgatory known as the PlayStation update copying. As you see, Paco getting a little bit wide there in his HCR McLaren. Getting a little squirrely there. Nothing too rough. He does have a half-second penalty for track limits, although he can just reset that for going in the pits. So we have a really fun race ahead today. Gonna go ahead and pull up the racing briefing so we can go ahead and give you guys just a quick understanding of what's going on here. It is 36 laps around this track with 1 times fuel and 4 times tire wear. All the tire compounds are allowed. There's no specific compounds you have to run. Ideally with this track, you'll probably want to run the soft and medium tires. That's just typically, actually medium and hards is probably your go-to strategy. So, and actually, it is only me on commentary today. Hopefully guys don't get too tired of my voice by the end of today's stream, but you guys will have 36 laps of very intense racing, and then we also have a 10-minute qualifying session here today. Currently on board with Whiplash from the Foxhound Speed Group. Got pole position last time out at Dragon Trail in Croatia. Really fun track. Sad that I kind of missed it, but still really good. Hope you guys enjoyed it. It was a fun race to spectate, some really good racing, but we're gonna see even more intense racing here at Spa. This track is one of the oldest tracks in history. It's one of the few tracks in Gran Turismo that has the ability to kind of say that they are over 100 years old. Track first opened up in 1921, although to a much different layout. The original layout was actually closer to that of the Nordschleife. It was about 9 miles long or 14 kilometers in length. The current version, which we've been using for quite some time now, I think this current layout has been around since 2007. 4.352 miles or 7.004 kilometers. And this is a track that can really bite you in qualifying, because the L lap around this track is super duper long, and I think this is actually one of the longest, if not the longest L lap on the entirety of the calendar. So we got 10 minutes of qualifying, so it's really going to be important to get your timing absolutely perfect. You can get a good tow from your teammates and make that count, but you're really only going to have about maybe 2 to 3 good laps around here for qualifying, if even. Usually it takes these drivers about almost 2 minutes. Fastest lap right now is held by the BMW driver of Comer. He is currently at a 1 minute 51.701. So good stuff there from the BMW driver. I would go to him if he was on track, but at the moment he's not. So we're waiting for Alex. Alex was the driver who unfortunately got caught with the in update purgatory. It happens to the best of us. Happened to me during Watkins Glen during the GT500 series. So it is unfortunate, but it does happen. Just the quirks of PlayStation, I would guess. So gonna go ahead and also take a quick look at the driver standings at the moment for the WEC. So right now, looking at our top 14 drivers, we have Nuko currently sitting at 63 points, but he is tied with Lusion. So it's all to play for here for these two drivers here today. Followed by Alex, the driver we're currently waiting on, and Boita also tied for their respective positions. 36 points apiece for both drivers, both of the Porsches, which I believe Porsche actually does have a substitute in today, in that of B23. Normally he races in SWT, he's reserving up today to WEC. He had some really solid pace in the open qualifiers. He could have easily went to WEC, but he is here in WEC today as a driver. Going through the rest of the standings, we have Whiplash, Pixel, Flaring Aces, Ghosted, Paco, Ducadono, Jedi, Gerard, Fennec, Iceman, and then we round it off with Artura and Ricky. Taking a look at the constructors now. Exo AMR is currently in P1 with 93 points, followed by Toyota, Porsche, Foxhound Speed Group, BMW Sony Motorsport, High Caliber Racer McLaren, and then Mugen currently sits at the bottom of our results. There's a lot of points to play for here today. It's going to be a really solid race. Spa never fails to deliver. It's going to be a race of management, as most races typically are, but this track, you can make the hard tires go quite the distance, so fuel might not be as big of a concern, but we'll just have to definitely see how it goes. And Nuko is saying hello and good luck to everybody. Hey Nuko, hope you have a good race, man. As well as I will share that sentiment. Hope everybody here has a very solid race here. It's round 3 of the WEC here at Grand Prestige Racing. If you haven't already, be sure to go ahead and drop a like and subscribe. Turn on notifications. And just make sure you don't miss any of our other races, because next week we're back here in Belgium with SWT, and SWT can be very competitive, so hopefully we'll see you guys there. I'll be there as well. It'll be me and Artura in the, me and Lusion in the commentary box for that race, so hopefully you guys will be there. It'll be a lot of fun. Spa is one of my favorite tracks ever. I mean, so far we've had nothing but bangers in the series. Just gonna go ahead and respond to that in chat. So it's about to be 10 minutes of qualifying, and then it's gonna be a 36 lap race around this massive circuit in Belgium. Based in Stavelat, Belgium. I probably mispronounced that, but we're just gonna roll with it. Alright, so go ahead and drop your predictions on who's gonna get pole position in the chat. I'll be going ahead and reading them off. I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I'm gonna go ahead and say Comer is gonna go ahead and get pole position here. So far he's looked really rapid in qualifying, but I know practice and qualifying are usually two separate things because of different run plans. But I mean, he was pretty rapid in the preseason testing, and I think he's gonna have a pretty solid shot here in qualifying. Alright, speaking of qualifying, it is go for qualifying here in Belgium at Spa-Francorchamps. Just waiting for that signal to go out. And there it is. It's lights out, and qualifying is a go. Now, all these drivers are probably going to want to get out relatively quickly. It is a very, very long out lap here. You can probably walk to your local supermarket and back before the time it takes to get a full lap in through your out lap. You can honestly probably go make some actual food. Get some stroopwafels. I heard those are pretty popular in this part of the world. I think that's more of a Dutch thing, but I'm pretty sure they're pretty popular over here in Belgium too. Anyways, in terms of the relevant on-track stuff, we have Nuko currently on track at the moment, the Toyota Gazoo racing driver, who is currently tied for first place in the championship. He is our championship leader. He is tied with Illusion though, so this is a very, very important race for the Frenchman here in the Toyota. You got to get those tires in the optimal window to go ahead and get the most grip humanly possible. And also, just to kind of go ahead and give anyone who may be new or who may be a bit unfamiliar with Gran Turismo or how these tires work on these kind of cars. First of all, we welcome you here. Hope you have a great time here in the Grand Prestige League. So, coming to the tires. Soft tires are usually the really good tire for qualifying. They are indicated by the RS on the bottom left of your screens. So the racing soft tires are basically they're the quickest tire available. They're kind of like one of those cheap RC cars, essentially. They can be really quick, but they don't have the battery, or in this case, the tire life to go the distance. These tires have the most grip, but they also have the biggest fall off. And then you also have the racing mediums, which is labeled as RM. Those are the 50/50s, usually pretty solid for a race tire. And then you have the hard compound tire, which is the tank, essentially. They have the least grip compared to the three primary slicks, but they do have the best tire life. So typically you won't see those for qualifying, you'll typically only see the softs. But in the race, definitely expect some medium and hard runners. And if you guys ever want to see the information on tires, go ahead and just let us know, and then we'll switch to a specific driver, and then we'll go ahead and show you guys what kind of tires they got. Unfortunately though, back to the on-track action, Nuko has actually earned himself a half-second penalty. That's going to put a damper in things. We're going to go ahead and move down one spot and take a look at Declan Spillane in the HCR McLaren. HCR hasn't had the greatest of seasons so far. I mean, it's been a kind of a rough start. The first two rounds haven't been super friendly to them. They have 16 points total. They are currently P6 in our constructors standings, only ahead of Team Moog and Honda that have only 3.5 points. So they're going to be definitely looking for a good result here. So Spillane is coming to the bus stop chicane. It's a very easy chicane to mess up, and it's pretty easy to get penalties here if you take it too light, or take it too tight, I mean. He's going to come across the line to set up first official time. Is at 1:51.4. Pretty solid time there from the Irishman. We'll see Comer. He's going to go ahead and take it up. Oh, that's almost a second and a half faster. These times are really starting to trickle down. And I think as this track gets more and more rubbered in, we're going to definitely see that happen more and more. So, now, if you look on the bottom right of your screen, the flashing red thing with the arrow that says overtake, that is essentially similar to the push to pass that you would see in IndyCar. So basically, you push it, your engine gets a bit of extra horsepower, and you can go ahead and send it. In the races, overtake is only available starting with lap 2, and then available from then on out. You can easily reset the overtake if you go to the pits, but that takes time, especially when you have an outlap. That takes about 2 minutes to about 2.5 minutes. So we're seeing a lot of times currently in the 150s. A 1:48.9 is currently our fastest time with Comer. Whiplash, our pole sitter from last time out, currently sitting in P2. And then R Debris, which was the driver that really impressed during the kind of last chance qualifiers we had to kind of settle the rest of the grid out when we did that sprint doubleheader for both Deep Forest Raceway and Interlagos. Had some really good performances there. Oh, and Gomez spins into the wall. That's not the kind of lap that Paco would have wanted. Very unfortunate there. And we have Schulte here who's watching this from a beach in Jamaica. That's actually impressive. Yeah, it sounds like you're having a blast. I hope you enjoy your vacation, which I'm assuming it's a vacation. Hopefully it is. Hopefully you are enjoying your vacation, and have a blast, and thanks for tuning in. So we are currently going to go on board with, let's see, we'll go on board with Ducadono in the BMW, the number 11 BMW currently on our screens. BMW is in a pretty solid spot when it comes to the constructors. I say that, but they're only P5, so not super solid. They're still quite a ways away from P4, from Foxhound, but they're still about less than 10 points away from High Caliber. So they're going to definitely want some really strong performances here today. Actually, now we're going to switch on board to the current championship leader, Nuko, who hasn't really set a representative lap time yet. Penalties kind of threw that one away. He's coming up to the bus stop chicane. We'll see where he goes. He's burning the overtake. He's pretty low on fuel. It's not going to be a pole position time, but it is going to be a solid time here from the Frenchman. It's close though. Only just under 3/10 away from pole position here for Nuko. As we go on board with Foxhound, Whiplash. Oh, he's got Alex right behind him. I think they're both part of that same group, but Alex is in the Porsche. And actually, I just now noticed Alex is actually here. Glad to see he was able to make it. Glad he is no longer in update copying purgatory, as we kind of like to call it around here. It does happen. Oh, but Alex getting a little squirrely there in the Porsche. He's going to definitely be looking for a solid result here today. So, Porsche right now is currently P3. They're only 5 points behind Toyota. So, it's going to be a really solid race here from them. Or they're going to need a really solid race here for Porsche. We'll take a look at Alex now as he's behind Whiplash. Coming through sector number 2, which is arguably the toughest sector on this track. As you see, B23 sets a new personal best time for himself. So far your top 3 coming down to the final 2 minutes of qualifying. You have Comer, Nuko, and R. Debris as your top 3. And it's been a pretty interesting session so far. I think Nuko is going to call for qualifying. I'm not sure if he'll be able to get out and do a lap in time. He's still going to try for it though. He's going to be cutting it super close. Alex is going to go ahead and have to start a lap now. Oh, and both Comer and Nuko are in the pits. We'll have to see what that's about. We'll go ahead with the co-leader in the championship. Lucian from Exodus AMR, currently in the lead for the constructors and tied for the lead for the drivers. We know Lucian is very quick. Currently sitting in P4 at the moment, but he's got to really make this go. He's only got a minute left to go ahead and start his final lap. I do think there is about a good 2 minutes of post-qualifying time available, especially on this track. We actually saw it in another series of Formula GT where the timer was too short and a good chunk of the field weren't able to set representative times. So it kind of skewed the qualifying order a bit, and then obviously race pace is a whole nother ball game in itself. So currently Lucian, we're going to stay on board with the AMR driver. Never mind, he goes into the pits. Spoke too soon, and yeah, that's going to be his qualifying done. So right now, Lucian is in that top 3. R. Debris is probably going to be one of the last drivers to go ahead and get his lap in. If you guys have any onboard requests, drop them in chat and we'll switch to that driver. Yeah, Spa's a really tricky one because, it's such a long out lap and you only got 10 minutes of qualifying, so you really got to get your laps in immediately. So as the track gets more rubbered in, the rubber has more stuff to grip, and more grip equals faster times. And so it's been pretty unfortunate that drivers haven't been able to get the full pace, but we'll definitely see some really solid pace in the race. And yes, the wind is blowing pretty quickly, as Chad has mentioned. 14.5 feet per second going to the west. I was just make sure I have my directions right. Yeah, so 14.6 now, so the wind is pretty rough. These Super Formula cars are very sensitive to wind. Probably some of the most aerodynamic cars in the entirety of the game. these cars that are pretty similar to the Formula 2 chassis. Both of them are designed by Dallara over in Italy. The premier racing class in Japan. It's actually pretty fun. They have some really good racing in Super Formula. If you guys have motorsport.tv, I highly recommend you go ahead and check it out. Super Formula is very fun to watch. The Mugen livery is pretty neat. Mugen is actually a team that does compete over in Super Formula. Glad to see, even though via unofficially, they have some representation here in GPL. R-Debris is going to be across the line. We'll see where his time sits. It's not an improvement of his position or time. And I think that is everyone done for qualifying. Yep, so my prediction came true for once. Comer is in pole position for this race. The Portuguese driver sitting on top as it sits right now. Very good stuff there from the BMW driver. But here's the thing. We have 36 laps around this track. It's a long track. So you can get pole position. You know, it's good. It's a good achievement. You know, you should be pretty proud of that. But qualifying is about 1 lap. And the race itself is 36. So you got to manage it to... You got to manage the race. You got to make sure you don't bend the car going into turn 1. So it's got a very tight chicane here in the very beginning at La Source. Very, very tight chicane up on the top right of your screen. It is such a tight corner there. And alright, so just to go ahead and run you back through your qualifying here, you have Comer, Nuko, Lucian, R-Debris, Whiplash, Spillane, Gomez, Yuki, followed by Fennec, Takadono, B23, who is reserving up from SWT, Flaring Aces, and Alex. Those are your times. Interesting though that Alex is in P13. That's interesting because his time is actually quicker than a lot of those cars ahead. He's got a 151. So interesting. All right. There we go. Some settings had to be changed. I thought I accidentally joined the race. Trust me, you guys do not want to see me drive here. I think we're just doing some practice setup here, so don't mind us. Yeah, actually, I don't even have our qualifying stuff anymore, so that's interesting to say the least. I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe Gran Turismo. B23 is racing today for Porsche, so that's why he is not here in the commentary box. He is reserved in for Porsche. So it's just me on the commentary box for today, but next week I think it'll be myself and Lucian. So we're just gonna have to go ahead and wait and see. Just go ahead and wait and see how everything is gonna play out. Alex has rejoined the room, so I think there is gonna be some qualifying reset. So we'll keep you guys posted on that. Yeah, I think qualifying might have had a bit of problems. Go ahead and check with race control to see if there's anything that needs to happen. I think it was just an issue with Alex getting an unfortunate disconnect with his internet, deciding not to play nice. I think he got disconnected mid-qualifying. I don't think he fully left. He did have a time that was good enough, at least for maybe the top 10. I was actually going to go ahead and take a look at it before everything got reset, but we'll see what happens. So I think it's just going to be the qualifying order is going to have to go ahead and set. Yeah. Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of is he had a his qualifying time was definitely not dead last. It was a 151, and everybody on that second screen was a 152. So 13th was not the correct position. So I think we're actually about to get ready for the race. I think the grid order has been set. Alex is P8. I think that sounds about right in terms of pace. So yep, I think we're about to go green here very, very soon. Yep, P8 is where he's going to go ahead and sit for the start of this race. We do know Alex does have a tendency to go bowling sometimes. Hopefully it doesn't happen here today. At least in the GT500 category, there was almost always something going wrong with poor Alex. But granted, the GT500 cars and these cars, while they share similar engines, that's about all the similarities that they actually have. I mean, aside from the obvious, there are cars, four wheels, steering wheel, transmission, all that jazz. But in terms of like how the cars actually handle, they are quite different. No overtake before lap 2, heavy damage. Just Nuko going ahead and giving a quick little race briefing. So yeah, overtake starts on lap 2, similar to how Formula 1 allows DRS starting at lap number 2. And I believe we are going to get going here soon. Artura is our steward, so shout out to Artura. He is our head steward for today. If he sees that the session needs to be red flagged, he will go ahead and announce it in chat. All tires are allowed. Nuko is saying be easy on the first laps. But basically what he's saying is try not to go bowling. La Source is a very easy corner to go bowling on, so yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how everything kind of plays out here. I think we're about to go green here soon. We'll just go ahead and keep you guys posted. It's going to be 36 laps around Spa-Francorchamps. A really fun track. These drivers are definitely going to get their daily mileage done today. Alright, the race is about to begin. We're about to be under green flag conditions. The race will begin very, very shortly. We see those drivers lined up on the grid. False starts will be penalized, so any of these drivers jump any of the lights, it's going to be a nice penalty for them. They definitely don't want that, at least in these early stages of the race. You hear those inline fours revving up to the max RPM. These drivers are itching to go. We're just going to wait for those 5 red lights to come on. We got those 5 red lights that are popping up on your screen. And it's a lights out and away we go. It's a good launch there for Comer. He is currently going to go ahead and try to cover off Nuko as they go into La Source. Very good stuff. Looks like maybe a little bit of contact there between Aces. Oh, it's a spin. Good amount of contact there between Duncan Dundo, Fennec, P23, and Aces. I wonder if that's going to be considered a red flag. 4 vehicles were involved. Heavy damage. Yep, Artura is going to go ahead and signal the red flag. So the race will have to go ahead and be reset. So everybody's going to go ahead and leave the session. We will exit as well. So it is a red flag due to the 4-car pileup into turn number 1. It was a bit of a long wait, but also Alex got disconnected again, unfortunately. Yuki is your race winner. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm kidding. We're not that cruel for a race just to whoever's at top of the restart goes ahead and automatically wins. As funny as it was, interesting stuff here from these drivers. Hopefully we don't have chaos again. I know turn 1 is very noticeable, or very well known for turn 1 shenanigans. We'll be back momentarily, folks. We'll jump back in once the red flag has been lifted, and then we'll be back racing for 36 laps once again. as we see here, we're just waiting on Alex, who's the driver who had a bit of a disconnect. I think we're about to go, we might be going green here in the near future. We'll just go ahead and see, just so we can show you guys some cars on track. We do have a few cars getting a bit of extra warm-up including our championship runner-up, at least as it sits right now, with Lucian, currently sitting in P2, tied for the lead in the championship with Nuko. The Norwegian driver having a really solid race last time out, and overall very solid season to tie up for points with Nuko. A favorite for the championship. He qualified P3, so he'll be starting from the second row once we get back going under green flag conditions. So we'll just have to go ahead and just kind of keep an eye on everything. I think a lot of these drivers are just going to go ahead and continue just to kind of get their practice laps in, get warmed up, you know, get a feel for the track. I know we had a little bit of practice early before quali, but it's always good to just kind of stay in that mindset of racing. We'll go ahead and talk about the standings again for the WEC class. AMR does currently lead with 93 points, followed by Toyota Gazoo Racing with 77. Porsche, who is in a good spot to go ahead and jump into P2, depending on how they do in this race. They have 72 points, followed by Foxon, which is a pretty large gap from P3 to P4. They have 47 points for the Foxon Speed Group, followed by BMW Sony with 23. High Caliber Racing McLaren with 16, and then Mugen with 3.5, currently rounding out the bottom of our grid for the constructor standings. Taking a look at the driver standings, Nuko and Lucian are tied for P1 with 63 points apiece. Then Alex and Boita, the two Porsches, are going to tied for P3 with 36 points apiece. Whiplash 2 points behind them with 34 points. And if Alex doesn't race today, Boita is subbed out for P23 for today. Whiplash could easily jump into that P3 spot. Pixel with 30 points. Aces with 14. Ghosted with 12. Paco with 10. Takadona with 9. And then we have Jedi, Gerard, Fennec, Iceman. And then we also have Artura and Ricky. Those are our drivers in the driver standings in their respective positions. As we go ahead and just kind of chill out and wait for... Just go ahead and chill out and wait. Oh, yeah, I think that's the aforementioned donuts here. Man, I could go for some donuts right now. Maybe I'll get some after we're done here. That was a pretty funny thing to see. Oh, all right, we're racing, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so now 14 feet per second wind coming from or heading in the northwest direction. So wind is going to be a bit spicy here. And once again, we see 5 red lights coming on your screen. And it's a lights out and away we go once again. It's a good start there from Comer. Hugging the inside line as they all file into the source. Oh, good amount of contact. Not as much contact as last time. A few drivers going a bit off track, but no spins, and so far everything is good. Comer and Nuko going side by side. The BMW and the Toyota going side by side, going through a Rouge. Going through Radion, and now it's 3 wide possibly. Coming to the end of the straight, going into the chicane. Alex has damage. And Comer's going to send it. Lucian moves up a position. And another red flag. Oh, yep. That's red flag indeed. After that. We apologize, folks. It is another red flag. Yeah, hopefully we'll go ahead and get back to racing at some point today. Yeah, interesting for the... So, 3 or 4 cars had damage according to the head steward. Yep, so, alright, so we'll have to go ahead and reset the grid and then get back going again, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, so, as we go ahead and wait for this red flag to, alright, yeah, so while we wait, how's your guys' day going so far? Hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and hopefully your weekend has been off to a fantastic start. Anyone got any plans afterwards? Actually, how's the racing over at, I know there's a new league that was recently started, using the F3500 cars, the, DRL league. How's that been going for you guys? I know quite a few drivers race in both series, so, for those of you who do race in DRL, or if you're a part of the management there, how is everything over there at the moment? And also, what's the next race? I'll definitely be interested in tuning in and watching. I missed the first one. Because I was still on vacation, but yeah, I'll be interested in watching the next race whenever it happens. And I agree with the sentiment in game chat about I mean, it's 36 laps of Spa. No need to get a red flag in the first part of it. It's just gonna be chaos and shenanigans. Hopefully we've seen the last of the chaos and shenanigans. Alright. Race time, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, you know what they say. Third time is a charm. Hopefully we'll go ahead and get into it without any problems. I hear that it was a pretty competitive first race for DRL. That's good. Yeah, I mean, I was driving the car earlier on Tsukuba and it was pretty stiff. But anyways, we're going to have a very exciting and competitive race here at Spa. And it's lights out, and for the third time today, hopefully third time's a charm, lights out, and away we go. Comer is 3 for 3 on the solid race start. The Illusion goes and takes it up the inside. Oh, a little bit of contact there in the backfield. I think that was R Debris. I think that was the Mugen of R Debris getting a little argy-bargy there, going through the source. They go through a Rouge this time, not as dicey as it was before. It wasn't too wide, but Comer and Illusion are battling it out. It is BMW v Toyota v Aston Martin. It's going to be very solid. Comer's going to try to send it up the inside to the chicane. He gets an elbow out, but Illusion decides to ignore that elbow, and he is up into the lead of this race. And if it sits right now, he will be in the lead of this championship. But lap 1 versus lap 36 is a completely different ball game entirely. As we see Whiplash battling it out with R Debris there. And also Whiplash and R Debris kind of battling it out. Alex is there too, looking for a move, looking for some positions. And so far it's been a relatively clean lap 1. Oh! That was a bit of contact there between Whiplash and Alex. Things are getting really dicey. It's 36 laps of action, so you really don't want to have any kind of damage in the opening stages of this race. And it looks like we may be able to survive lap 1 without another red flag. Hopefully that was the last red flag. And as I'm seeing in chat, finally it is clean throughout lap 1. We're going back on board with Comer, the Portuguese driver, who is on pole, chasing down Illusion to try to reclaim his lead, and lap 1 has been completed. 35 more laps to go around Spa-Francorchamps. And Comer is right up on the back of Lujan here. Gonna try to move defensively because, I mean, you can overtake over on Eau Rouge. I mean, overall, there's a lot of pretty good overtaking spots on this track. It's probably one of the easiest spots to overtake on. This straightaway right here is a pretty good spot. He had the DRS, he's burning the overtake. Since lap 2, overtake is enabled. Oh, it's gonna be tight, a little bit of touchy. A little bit of a touch and go there for Comer and Lujan. And these drivers are fighting for every possible position. These two drivers, Comer's gonna go ascendant around the outside. He's into the lead, but for how long? Lujan does have the inside line, but Comer cuts him off. Very solid race here in the front of the pack. Nuko is definitely gonna be waiting for an opportunity. He's gonna bide his time and wait for Lujan or Comer to make a mistake and jump up a spot. Our Debris isn't too far behind. He looks like he kind of pulled away from Alex there ever so slightly. Now, unlike in Formula 1, you don't have to be a second to the car ahead to go ahead and try to use your overtake. As long as it's after lap 2 and you have overtake available, then you're pretty much good to go. Very good stuff here from all of these drivers in the get-go. We'll go ahead and take a gander inside the field. It looks like Flaring Aces, the other Toyota, is looking possibly to try to get a move on to B23. Two drivers who have had some very competitive races in Formula GT, now here in Grand Prestige League, looking to make some moves. It is Porsche v Toyota. A pretty solid rivalry here between these two teams. Porsche and Toyota are pretty close to each other in the standings. I think it's about they're about 5 points apart, roughly, give or take. So this is going to be a very important race for the constructors in that regard. And we're seeing Yuki into the pits. Yuki and Declan have massive damage. Front wing damage for Declan, and then Yuki has got entire front damage. He's got front wing and front suspension damage. So he's going to pull into the pits. Now here's something else worth noting, and we'll stay on board with this to kind of showcase this, but this is a long pit lane. Getting some extra fuel nope, he wasn't getting fuel, it's just getting some new parts. And Declan actually went to the hard tire, so he may be thinking about trying to go to the end of this race. He's still got the front wing damage, so that, unless it's just a glitch on the UI, he hasn't made the repair yet in that HCR McLaren. Going back up to the front, Comer has went ahead and started to pull away from Lujan now. Now we're starting to see the race of attrition. The pure endurance of 36 laps around Spa. Pretty long race for these drivers to kind of go through. But these drivers are some of the best drivers in Gran Turismo, and also some of the best drivers in the Super Formula machinery. So we know that these drivers have the skill and they have the pace to go ahead and make this race work. Our Debris is pretty close to Nuko, about less than a second apart. Go and look and see if we got any other battles going on through the field. Fennec does have B23 behind. See if any moves can be made here. B23 has made up, I think he's made up about a position, but he also hasn't been into the pit stop yet, so. Oh, he gets a little snappy going through the bus stop chicane there. He's going to lose a bit of time to Fennec up ahead. And the Dutchman is now going to try to chase down the Welshman of Flaring Aces. Getting a little score there. We'll see. We'll go on board with Fennec now as they go through Eau Rouge. The Foxhound Speed Group driver getting side by side. Is it going to be an overtake around the outside on Eau Rouge? Yes, it is. Fennec making a move up to P9, and that was excellent from the Foxhound Racing Group driver. Superb there from Fennec. Now we're seeing the other Foxhound driver looking to make up a position. Whiplash gonna try to make up his position onto Alex. We'll see how this kind of plays out for Whiplash. Not nearly as close as the other Foxhound driver was, Fennec, but still it's looking pretty close here. go through the field. Actually, we'll go back on board with this battle. It looks like it's the closest battle yet. If at any point you guys want to do a onboard lap with any of these drivers, go ahead and drop it in chat, and I will go ahead and grant you that request. Hope you guys are having fun here, because I certainly am, especially now that we've been racing for more than half a lap. We don't have a red flag this time around, and I think the red flags are really only applicable for the start of races. Somebody who's more familiar with the rules can go ahead and let me know if that is false, but so far pretty clean race. A little bit of argy-bargy earlier on, and we saw some damage for a few cars on the grid. But yeah, now this field is kind of spreading out a bit, as it kind of tends to do in the early stages of the race. So we'll just have to definitely... I'll keep an eye on any close battles for you guys. We're actually going to go through an onboard lap now with Whiplash. See if he can close the gap to Alex here. We have 13 viewers in chat. Thank you guys so much. Hope you guys do enjoy. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. We have races almost every single week. Next week we have this track again, but with our second group of Sprint World Tour. A shorter race, but there's still a lot of action that happens in that group. A very competitive field. So you're definitely not going to want to miss that. It'll be around the same time. It'll be myself and Illusion in the commentary box. And we're going to go take a look at quick chat here. And we're seeing some chat talking about Comer. Comer is having a pretty solid race start here. Driver got on pole position, but you gotta remember, it is 36 laps around Spa, so you obviously gotta kind of take into account that if you gotta finish first you must finish. Age-old saying from a very famous racing driver. Very good stuff here from Comer, but I mean, he's on those medium tires. Taking a look at the tire wear, it looks like Comer has slightly bit more wear on those racing mediums. So, and actually, let's look at fuel here. They're exactly the same on fuel, it looks like. I think Illusion might have a tad more fuel. He definitely has more overtake than Comer does, so Comer is slightly down in overtake, tire wear, and also fuel. These cars are packing quite a bit of horsepower. It is 625 horsepower in these inline 4 powered machines, powered by either Toyota or Honda engines. These cars are actually rapidly quick. Some drivers have even said that these cars handle more like Formula 1 cars than Formula 2 does. So sometimes when drivers in the real world go through Formula 2, they'll actually do a stint in Super Formula to kind of prove their skills. Teo Porcher, Liam Lawson, I think Zach O'Sullivan is the latest driver to make the jump to Super Formula from F2. But these cars are really fun to drive. Probably the cars I have the most mileage in. I mean, you even see the mileage that these drivers have in these cars. I mean, Comer has 8,309 miles, now 310. So, I mean, and this race is never going to put miles on your car. Illusion has got about half that. He's got 4,000, 13,000 for Nuco. So Nuco's definitely been around for a while. He is definitely a seasoned veteran when it comes to Super Formula. Super Formula is basically between F1 and F2. Honestly, yeah. I would argue it's actually closer to like IndyCar, essentially, in terms of like the performance. They have about the same amount of horsepower. Indy has like 700, I think. Although Indy just adapted hybrid stuff, I know. First full season running it. Super Formula is the second fastest Formula car worldwide. I can see that, yeah. And it's crazy that they're getting that out of a 4-cylinder, which is pretty neat because, I mean, a lot of Japanese cars do run 4 cylinders, both domestically to Japan and also worldwide. So, I mean, one thing about racing is that a lot of stuff that comes from racing does eventually go into the road cars. And that's why we've seen a lot of racing series kind of move towards those V6s and inline 4s, stuff of that nature, because that's what a lot of cars just tend to have nowadays. How many drivers use a controller? That is a very good question. I do not know, actually, how many drivers are on a controller. The only driver that I know for a fact ran Super Formula races in controller was Venomous Venom from Formula GT, who was a sub-in at Deadeye Racing over there. And he's also a reserve driver for Exo AMR. At least that's from what I have heard. I know he's on a controller. I don't know about anyone else though. Interesting. So miss racing here. Yeah, work schedules, they can be kind of a bummer, man. I know how it feels. Yeah, I mean, I use a controller too, but oh, a little bit of RG barging there from Paco and R Debris. Hopefully he doesn't have any debris on his car. It looks like he's got front wing damage. He's gonna have to come into the pits and get that fixed. We'll see. Gomez doesn't have any damage, I don't think. Yeah, no, Gomez doesn't have any damage. He does come out right behind Alex. So I think the only drivers who have made their pit stops are drivers that have had some contact, which is unfortunate. It's heavy damage here, so the damage on your car will remain until you go into the pits. I believe in SWT, which is our category for next week, they run light damage, so in about a minute of time, or maybe 30 seconds, around that ballpark, the damage will repair itself. I'm sure Williams on Formula 1 wished that was true. But yeah, it's pretty unfortunate to get damage here in WEC, the top class of the Grand Prestige Leagues, just because, I mean, that damage can really ruin your race. Make sure you take an extra pit stop than you might have, or you would have had to pit in earlier. So you'd probably maybe go on the hard tires to try to go all the way to the end, as Paco goes a bit wide there on corner exit. Very strong stuff here. We'll go ahead and yeah, this pack is really kind of spread out, so not really any major fights going on at the moment, but this is really just a management race at this stage. But yeah, I mean, some controller drivers are rapid. I mean, I know speaking about King, I've only seen him in the preseason testing that we did earlier on in the year, where we ran at Barcelona with the chicane, which is we are heading to Barcelona later on the season, although we're going to the no chicane variant for next time towards the end of the season. But I know, King, you had some pretty solid pace going through the preseason testing. I know Venomous got some really good pace too. A really promising kind of rookie driver who's pretty new to the Super Formula series. Maybe we'll see him here at some point, or we'll see him in another series. Pretty quick driver, but I think he's another one that also is unavailable due to work schedules. Tough race will likely be a one-stop. Yeah, I can see that. I can see probably medium to medium, or maybe medium to hard might be the ideal strategy. I don't think we'll see a lot of the softs here, unless somebody just wants to hijack that fastest lap point, which is possible. But I do think, in general, it is going to be a one-stop here for this race. But yeah, controller drivers can be extremely rapid. I myself am not one of those rapid drivers on a controller. So, don't expect me to make my debut here anytime soon for racing. We're racing blue flags for Declan, being the first of the lapped cars. He's going to get out of the way for his teammate. He had to make a pit stop pretty early on with some pretty significant damage. And now he's even got more damage. He's got the entire front of his car is basically being held on by duct tape and some prayers at the moment. The front suspension on both sides and his front wing are damaged. Pretty unfortunate stuff there. The High Caliber squad has just had a rough go at it throughout the entirety of the season. Take a look at the other driver, Paco, currently sitting at P6. Would be some pretty solid points there for the Mexican driver. He's currently, all these drivers are kind of in the middle of no man's land, so this is really going to be a race that's going to be one more on strategy. Spill on lane 13, that's crazy. I'm only mad about that because I didn't think of it first. I love my god-awful puns. But I also love high-speed racing, which we're getting some clean racing now that the pack has took some time to kind of start social distancing a bit like it's 2020. Not really any battles going on here at the moment. Looks like we might have something between B23, who's looking really good on the overtake, by the way, compared to the car in front. Got significantly more overtake. It's definitely a management race here at the moment, with B23 kind of managing that overtake pretty well, but he did lose about 7 tenths to R Debris up ahead. I think R Debris maybe put a little bit of extra pace. He put on the afterburners just a bit. Looking to score more points for the Mugen team as we see them round this high-speed corner. You can pretty much almost flat out this corner, especially with full tuning enabled for the season. BOP in this game, like the default setups they're alright. They're better than not running a setup at all, but having your own personalized setup that is geared towards your specific driving style based on how you feel about the track can really, really make the difference in terms of your confidence in the car, your lap times, and just overall performance. Could try to get a VSC at some point. In this game, I'd say to go see more action. I do agree with you, but we know Gran Turismo can be a bit buggy at times. Just talk about the race that we treat as a certain event that happened in an Asian country in 1989. A race that never happened, Kyoto. We had every tech issue under the sun for that race. So, I think Gran Turismo could do it, but I think they're too busy adding the Mercedes Unimog and some other small K cars that probably aren't going to see a lot of action. As a steward in the lobby. I think we've talked about that before. I think the admins have talked about it before. I don't know what the eventual decision was. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that safety car or VSC would play out. I think there are some logistical challenges behind it, but the admin team is pretty talented here, so I'm sure if we absolutely needed that safety car, I'm pretty sure they would be able to provide one. But maybe we'll go ahead and see if the future, or what the future holds. Yeah, honestly, I think the best car that they've added in any of these last few updates is the Ioniq 5N and the F3500. Those are really the only two cars I actually really liked from these last few updates. I know licensing is a righteous pain. I did a lot of research on licensing. I went to college for game design and wanted to really work on my own racing game. So, I did a lot of research into the licensing, and the legality of it is a nightmare. Usually a pretty massive upfront cost, followed by just a lot of paperwork. So I understand the licensing is a problem sometimes. Yeah, I actually heard that from Alex, that tip. Unfortunately, although I do have a laptop, I haven't been able to get it to connect to my PlayStation. I may go buy an external keyboard for this, and I also heard you can do replays too. I heard like instant replays are a thing, which would be really awesome to have. I could probably run to some store and buy like some cheap $20 keyboard that can just connect. We'll see if we can have that for next race, because I do think it'd be pretty cool. It'd be a lot easier than switching things up like this. Yes, replays are a thing. Actually, I'll go on board with him because I'm going to be mentioning him wherever he is. Yeah, Alex actually sent me an entire, like guide of all the hidden commands you can have on a keyboard. So, I think in general, that'd be really cool. Kind of wish they would just bring that to console, honestly, although I know, I think on Gran Turismo Sport, there was an option to where, like, if you held this button and then moved this, it wouldn't switch until you actually, like, let go of the button. I think that was the thing in GT Sport. Once again, it's one of those things, I don't know why they didn't bring it back. I mean, that is true. Gran Turismo could work on some fictional cars. I mean, they could work on their own, like, ground effect F1 car. Honestly, they realistically could. I mean, the F3500, like King said, is a fictional car. So, it is entirely possible. I know it's been a lot of non-race yapping, but haven't really had any on-track battles yet. Mostly just because it's a long track and everybody's been pretty spread out. So tire strategies, track position is going to be super important for these cars up ahead with Lujan and Nuco and Comer. I think, I know Whiteout said it earlier on in chat that it's going to be really, really interesting to see when these drivers pit in, because, I mean, track position is everything, especially with this pit lane being the longest on the calendar. So, we'll see how it goes. I am probably going to predict they're going to try to get the maximum amount of tire life out of these tires. They're probably going to push it until pretty close to the end, or until they kind of run out of fuel, which fuel isn't as big of a concern as tire wear is, because the fuel is only out of 1 times for the settings, and tires are out of 4. So tires are definitely going to burn out way quicker than fuel, even in the real world. That's typically how it goes. Unless you're running like a 10,000 horsepower engine, then that's a different story entirely. Yeah, I mean, honestly, just from what I've seen personally, there's a pretty big community for Super Formula in Gran Turismo. I know we obviously have Grand Prestige League here. They're running their 2 series. You have SWT and then also WEC, which is what we're currently on board with. And then also the SF500 event that we do, which actually was at this track last year. It was a pretty fun race to commentate on. I think it was the longest race I commentated on until last week. I did a 2.4 hour of Le Mans, but overall, I mean, there's a massive Super Formula community. I think Zeus Gaming League, it's another Gran Turismo league. They have a pretty interesting system for drafts. I raced there once, my only league race to date, and it went absolutely terrible. We don't speak about it. But yeah, I think they're looking into doing a Super Formula series as well. So there is a lot of hype and a lot of passion for these Super Formula cars. And I mean, especially because F124 is such a buggy mess right now. The game has, if you think Gran Turismo is kind of bipolar at times, F124 is also super bipolar. And yeah, it's just that I feel like these cars are just super underutilized. I've seen more special events for the Suzuki Jimny than I have for the Super Formula cars, which is pretty insane. And even if you just look at like the general lobbies, you'll always see you'll see a lot of just F1/Super Formula lobbies. And I mean, we see here today that, I mean, Super Formula drivers are extremely talented. These cars are not easy to drive in the slightest. They all have their quirks that make these kinds of bit of a workout to drive, especially if you're on a wheel. You can be really fighting for your life in these cars at times. So there's a lot of like potential in this market that it's just unfortunate that Gran Turismo just hasn't really seemed to tap into. So the thing with Forza is that Motorsport has a lot of real circuits. I don't think they have any street circuits now that I think about it, unless they added one. I haven't played Motorsport in like several months. Pardon me. But I think the only problem is that they don't have a spectator cam. At least the last time I played it. Horizon is just street circuits, but I know there's a lot of custom tracks as well. GTs, yeah, I mean, and honestly, I mean, in terms of the sim racing stuff, you know that Le Mans Ultimate actually has been doing really good. It's becoming pretty highly rated as a simulator now. They just added the Mustang GT3, the new one, as a free DLC car. And I mean, Gran Turismo, I will say, it's a fun game. And we've seen some very excellent racing here. I mean, we're seeing some excellent racing here today, aside from the red flags, and it looks like we're going to see a battle between Aces and R Debris. It looks like Flying Aces went a bit too slow going through the bus stop chicane there. As now R Debris is looking to get P8 off of the British driver, trying to score more points for the Honda team. He is right on the back of Aces there. They're gonna probably, maybe an overtake is gonna happen through a Rouge. Those cars are bump drafting like it's NASCAR. He's gonna try to send it around the outside. He's got it. It's another move made around the outside of that corner. It is excellent stuff there from R Debris, getting it done around the outside of a Rouge. Simply lovely, as a famous Dutch Formula 1 driver has said on numerous occasions. R Debris moves it up into P8, and now he's going to try to get the most out of those tires. We also saw in chat earlier, I didn't mean to gloss over it, but around lap 17 to 19, I think was the pit window. I can agree with that. It's about half distance. You could probably throw on the hard tires and then go the other halfway on this track. Track positioning is going to be so important. Speaking of games that are coming to PlayStation, Horizon 5 is actually coming to PlayStation, I think sometime this month. I think it's going to be on PlayStation. Comer is being told to empty the pineapple juice for a bit. I don't get the reference, and I don't think I want to. But anyway, he's having a pretty good run here. Lucian is trying to catch up to him, using a little bit of the overtake here on the straight after a Rouge. Coming up to the next set of corners here. It's a purple sector 1 here for the Norwegian driver. He's trying to chase down Comer. Comer was 2 seconds ahead, and now Lucian is trying to turn on the afterburners here. Spreading the wings of the Exo AMR and trying to fly towards P1. Especially he wants to try to get ahead of him before they make the pit stop. Or maybe we might see an undercut here. It'll be interesting to see what, if he's got an engineer or a strategist. I'm curious to see what the strategy is going to be for Lucian. An undercut might be pretty powerful here, but it's going to be risky because that pit lane does take about 2 years and some change to get through here. And yes, undercutting is OP on this game. Pitting in next lap. I mean, yeah, we're going to definitely see pit stops here in the next lap or so, I would definitely say. Comer's just losing time to Lucian here. One of these drivers will have to pull the trigger coming to the pits. And Lucian is going to be that driver. Lucian is going to say, all right, I'm getting on these new tires. I'm going for the undercut. Comer's going to try for the overcut. He's going to probably burn a lot of that overtake to try to keep that position. Nuko's still behind. He's going to go out for another lap. His tires are looking pretty worse for wear at the moment. I mean, solid stuff here from Nuko. Keeping it clean. Current sitting P3. Alex is also going to make a pit stop. We're going to see those new tires put on the Exo AMR machine of Lucian. Currently tied for the Drivers' Championship. And, I mean, at this rate, he might take the lead in the Drivers' Championship. It just depends on if the overcut comes out ahead. I'm not sure if it will. But, yeah, I definitely think Comer and Nuko really need to pit in this lap. I mean, if they go to the next lap, then Lucian is going to just jump the both of them. Or is going to just jump back into the lead of this race. And then take the race win. Because the undercut is very strong here in Gran Turismo in general, but definitely when it comes to Spa, just Spa with its gargantuan pit lane. Medium's not that quick on that lap. Yeah, so the mediums will take a bit of time to get warmed up and to get into the proper operating window. The operating window stuff doesn't seem as harsh as it can in some simulators, like in LMU before they had the tire blanket update. Tires took like 10 laps to actually get into a good operating window because of the lack of tire blankets. But yeah, it's going to be really, really tight here coming into the last section, or last half of this race. And we are seeing Comer come into the pits now. Both him and Nuko coming into the pits. Whiplash as well, so I think all the drivers who have not pitted in yet are going to go ahead and take the pit stop. And Lucian is just going to fire off into the lead. That pit stop is going to take quite a bit for these drivers. Comer is coming out now. He's actually a bit closer to Lucian than I thought he would have been, but he's going to burn that overtake. But Lucian is dangerously low on that overtake. So Comer has the advantage on fuel and overtake, so he can push harder. But the question is it too little too late? We know Lucian is quick. We know he can manage his tires. But it's just a matter of, does he have the pace? Who's got the pace here? Is it the Portuguese driver or the Norwegian driver? I mean, we got about another 18-ish laps to kind of decide that. So we'll just have to go ahead and we'll keep an eye on this battle. It's going to be pretty close. It's definitely going to come up to the end of the race. Take a look and see if there's any other battles. Battle of the Dutch drivers here. Mugen versus BMW. R Debris versus Takadono. We will go on board with Takadono for a little while as he tries to chase down R Debris. We'll go ahead and spectate this just for a bit. Looks like the closest battle currently available on track, and we want to bring you guys the most action humanly possible. Takadono's, he's gaining. He's got a good amount of overtake. Let's see about R Debris. R Debris does, oh, I am sorry about that. I held the wrong analog stick. My apologies. Sorry if I accidentally gave anyone a seizure there. It looks like R Debris is, he's pulling away now from Takadono. Excellent stuff here from the Mugen driver. Yeah, he's kind of pulling away now from Takadono. Now actually catching up to Yuki in the Exo AMR. The Japanese driver going to be under a bit of pressure now from our debris. Although Yuki has not made a pit stop yet, so those tires are on life support. They are more cooked than a well-done steak at this rate. We'll actually go ahead and take an onboard lap with Comer, and we will be back. Pretty solid lap here from the BMW driver of Comer. He's really trying to push hard and try to regain that lead, but I think Lucian has just been quicker. We'll take a look at the laps between these drivers, a 1:53.4 and a 1:53.8. So actually that last lap was the fastest lap of the race so far in the hands of Comer. Comer's really pushing hard now. An excellent result here from the Portuguese driver. He's got some really solid pace around this track. Chasing the illusion out about 4/10 quicker. I think a little less than 4/10, but still quicker by at least 3/10, which is pretty good. It's really only going to take now about 3 laps to catch him if he continues at this specific pace. But overtake is going to be a factor here. Illusion really doesn't have any overtake remaining. He's got a little bit, but Comer's got about 1.5 times more than Lucian does, I think. Or actually, it looks like he's got twice as much overtake as Lucian does. I agree. Yeah, Comer's got some ridiculous pace right now. He is cooking. I'm sure the BMW squad is telling him to let him cook, and they let this man cook, and he turned out to be Gordon Ramsay. Absolutely stellar work from the Portuguese driver. But I know Lucian pretty well, and I know he's not going to give this up without a fight. He's going to give it everything he's got to go ahead and convert to a race win. He's already in a good spot to take the lead in the Drivers' Championship, even if he doesn't win here. He's in a good spot to go ahead and take the lead of the Drivers' Championship, whether if he wins or not. Because Nuko's just not had the race that he would have wanted. He is 7 seconds behind Comer, and then Comer is another half a second behind Lucian. So definitely not Nuko's race here today. Oh, it looks like more purples. More purples here for Comer. Comer's just burning everything in his arsenal right now. But he's got to be careful not to burn out those tires too much. He is on the newer tire than Lucian, but if he gets too aggressive, he could make a mistake, spin out, spin it. There's so many things that could go wrong here, and we still got a good amount of racing left to go. Taking a look at the last lap time, ooh, Lucian is just not up to the same pace on these tires. It's 1:53.8 versus a 1:53.1. So that is 7/10 faster and on one lap pace compared to Comer. Or compared from Comer to Lucian, I should say. Comer's got some wicked pace right now. but is he backing off? Looks like he might be backing off here a bit. Trying to do some tire conservation. He did lose a little bit of time to Lucian up ahead. The BMW driver still chasing his first win of the season. And yeah, he was 7/10 off that time, so definitely Lucian was faster by 3/10 that time around, but it might be now management for Comer. We'll have to see. He's going up a Rouge. We'll see what happens here. I think he's right now just trying to manage everything. He's not trying to go too aggressive. Not, you know, just overall just trying to keep it clean, keep it safe. Because, I mean, I know I said it before, but if you gotta, if you want to finish first you must finish. We'll kind of skip around here. See if there's any other cars we could go on board with. It looks like Yuki and Fennec might have a battle for the last position in this top 10 battle. We'll see how it all plays out. Comer conserving an overtake for some attacks, definitely. And he's also trying to stay out of dirty air. It would be very, very interesting to see if... because dirty air is pretty effective on these cars. I mean, that's the only downside with these cars being so aerodynamically efficient, as that's a pretty solid overtake attempt from Yuki there. They're going to go side by side, going through a Rouge. This could get really dicey. We've seen a lot of overtakes around the outside. A little bit of touch and go for Fennec and Yuki. Fennec holds the position. Oh, but it's getting super, super dicey. Yuki is so close. He's going to go for the move. He might have a move done and dusted going into the chicane. No, he doesn't. Fennec holds it around the outside and just absolutely keeps the position. Fennec has had some really excellent driving here today. Gonna go on board for a battle between Toyota and BMW. Ducadona and Flaring Aces. This might be a fight here soon. Taking a good look. Ducadona does have more overtake and more fuel, it appears. Flaring Aces is burning a little bit of that extra overtake to try to catch up to Ducadona up front. This could be a spicy battle in the loudest stages of the race. Have you ever thought of having two races in one day, like F1, WEC, and PSGO sometimes? So we did that for, I forget what the official name of the event was, but I called it the Last Chance Qualifiers. We actually did 2 sprint races back to back on different tracks to kind of decide where some of the middle pack after like the preseason qualifying, the drivers that didn't qualify for WEC but also didn't, were too quick to be automatically qualified for WEC or SWT. They had this cool event. I nicknamed it the Last Chance Qualifiers. So we did 2 15-lap sprints. We did the first one at Interlagos over in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and then we went over to Switzerland for Deep Forest Raceway. Actually, the driver who won both of those races is in this race. It is the driver currently in P6, R. Debris. I think he was just running his own car at that time too. So, I mean, he had some very solid results. And going back to P1, ask and ye shall receive. This is going to be very, very spicy. We'll go on board now for this battle for the lead. 12 laps left to go in this Grand Prix for the WEC category of the Grand Prestige League. We're seeing some blue flags up ahead. That's a car currently going through a Rouge. So they won't run into traffic just yet, but maybe not. I know at some points in this calendar we do have sprint races. I think it is actually Interlagos and how much overtake does Lucian have? Good question. Next to none. Yeah, he pretty much burned a lot of that overtake just trying to stay ahead of the car in front. I mean, they're coming up the lap traffic too, so I mean, that's gonna really play a factor. It's B23 in the Porsche. The SWT driver reserving up, so you'll probably see him on track next week, racing for XO AMR, unless he switched to a different team in that division. There are different teams in the different divisions. I think XO AMR might be the only team that's in both, although they are running their kind of their B team or their sister team known as XO Rapide, or Rapide. One of those pronunciations is bound to be correct. But yeah, I mean, this battle is going to be very close, and I think this lap traffic of this Porsche might have something to say about it. Hopefully the lap traffic doesn't cause too many incidents. See if Lucian can go ahead and get around. I mean, I know B20. Oh, it's a bit of a snap oversteer there from Lucian as he exits the bus stop chicane. This is really going to play into the hands of Comer. But Comer is going to try to manage quite a bit. We'll go on board with the BMW now. He smells blood in the water. He knows that there is a potential to go ahead and win this race. He's just got to get past this very rapid Norwegian driver ahead of him. Take a good look at lap times. The lap times are close to each other. Only a few hundred separates them. He's going for the slipstream. He might try to make the move here. We'll see if it's going to stick. Going around the outside. We've seen some overtakes happen here. Oh, there's big contact between Comer and Lucian. That's big contact there. I mean, going that close to that chicane, now it's kind of bound to happen. SWT has Saab. Yeah, that's right. I know. I think XO Rapide is Saab powered. The other team I know that's in both is High Caliber. Have two different squads in both. You have High Caliber McLaren and then regular High Caliber. High Caliber Papaya flavor versus the regular. But man, that was an overtake that Comer needed. But I'm sure the stewards might have a little bit of work to do based on that incident. It may be seen as a racing incident just because how close the drivers were. But I'm not a steward, so that will not be my call. But right now, Comer is already starting to kind of pull away from Lucian there. And Lucian's out to overtake. So he's got nothing left. Nothing left for Lucian to do. And Comer might just sail away with this, but also Comer, he's got a very minuscule amount of overtake left, and now he's out of it entirely. So there's no more overtake left in these vehicles. It's just gonna be raw pace now. Raw pace and tire life. Lucian actually has less fuel as well, but the tire life is about the same. So it's really gonna be tricky here. Gonna be really tricky here in this race. But that was definitely the overtake that needed to happen sooner than later. We're gonna potentially see a battle between I think you did lose a little bit or he lost quite a bit of time there to Gomez. Gomez was slightly ahead. The High Caliber McLaren in a decent position as it sits right now, but oh yeah, I think Yuki must have lost a considerable amount of time to Gomez. Must have been some kind of incident. Oh, actually, yeah, I was just reading through chat. This man right here, the man who's currently on the top of the driver standings, he's got a good amount of overtake. So, if these two continue fighting like, you know, two boxers, I was trying to think of some names, but I couldn't at the moment. I was gonna say Mike Tyson and Logan Paul, but we don't speak about that. But I mean, if these two keep fighting it out, which I think there's a pretty big gap separating now. So Lucian might be in a bit of trouble compared to Nuko. If Nuko could be potentially ready to overtake Lucian here and maintain his lead of the Drivers' Championship. We'll go on board with the Toyota for this lap. We'll stick with him and various camera views for this lap. He navigates through the bus stop chicane. Beautifully done. He's gonna go full on to the power. gonna go through those gears. And I mean, let's actually compare lap times between these drivers. So the last lap was a 154.4 versus a 155. Ooh, Lujan was a whole second slower than Nuko, and I'm sure his race engineer and his steward. R. Debris is left. So that's one driver out of this race. R. Debris, who is looking to have a very solid result there for Mugen. He was in a pretty decent spot. Yeah, he was in P6. So a Mugen driver has unfortunately been disconnected. I don't know if there's another Mugen driver here. Yeah, I don't think there is. I think that was the only Mugen driver, so it's going to be another race of just no points for Mugen, and their season has been off to a torrid start here in WEC. They had 3.5 points coming in, and they're only going to have 3.5 points coming out of this race. So really unfortunate there for the Mugen squad. I know they were really hoping for some decent points, and R. Debris was really going to give it to him. But, yeah, just unfortunate. Going to be a really good chance for a lot of these teams closer to the back of the standings to really catch, or really kind of pull away from them, which is exactly what Mugen did not want to happen. High Caliber is going to get some pretty decent points with Gomez sitting in P8 at the moment. Teammate currently in last place, but maybe trying to get fastest lap away. Oh, he does fastest lap already. Oh, 152.1 for the Irish driver. So we'll see what he can do. Oh, he's coming out around the same time as Comer. He's going to ease off and let him through, but it's going to be a pretty tight part of the track. Comer's already 4 seconds ahead of Lujan there. Comer's really got some strong pace here. But now it's going to be a battle for P2. And earlier I was saying that Nuko was kind of stuck in P3 just because of how close P1 and P2 were, but now P2 is really falling off. And Nuko, he's smelling blood in the water, and that's P23 going wide there out of the chicane in the background from the POV of, or from being on board with Nuko. Still a little bit of that snap in the background. But, I mean, 1.3 seconds faster on the last lap for Nuko. Lujan's in a world of trouble now. He's got a fight coming up in the next few laps. Lujan's really got to turn on the afterburners, but the afterburners have no fuel. He's got no overtake. And he's got about the same amount of fuel, but I think... Actually, it looks like the exact same amount of tire wear, so really the big thing is that Nuko's got more pace at the moment. Lujan kind of struggling on those mediums. As Fennec gets out of the way for Nuko, not impeding his progress much, if at all. And so it's going to be really, really tight here in the closing stages of the race. 7 laps left to go now. Once these drivers cross the line, 7 laps left to go. It's going to be a fight for every single position here. We'll go ahead and check and see if there's any other close fights going on. Doesn't seem like that's the case at the moment. Ducadono currently being chased down by Aces. BMW versus Toyota. A battle that we might have saw earlier on between Lujan and, or sorry, not Lujan, with Nuko and Comer, but Comer is sailing off into the distance, so we can go ahead and still enjoy that same battle between Ducadono and Aces. 2 very talented drivers. Ducadono has a pretty solid performances as well, and also flaring Aces. Pretty standout driver from Formula GT. But now we see Declan currently ahead of Nuko. It's a blue flagged car. He'll have to give way, but I mean, it's not really the easiest time to give way. I mean, he isn't dead last, so he doesn't really have to worry about being passed by anybody. He's had a pretty unfortunate race here for the HCR McLaren squad. But, I mean, so far, let's go ahead and check the lap time. So, Lujan was getting better. It is now only 9/10 between the two cars in terms of lap time last lap, but I mean, Nuco's stuck in the dirty air behind Declan, so maybe on the run up to Eau Rouge, or maybe shortly after La Source, we might see that position change between Nuco and Declan. I'm sure it's going to happen sooner rather than later. I mean, he will still try to get the slipstream. Declan is going to go ahead and let him through. He's not going to risk getting penalized by the blue flags. He's going to let Nuco go, and Nuco is going to go ahead and charge after him. Now, only 2/10 faster than last lap, but traffic definitely had a part to play in that. So Nuco can easily catch up here to Lujan and go ahead and take P2 away from him, as well as retain his spot on top of the Drivers' Championship. I think Lujan, though, by default will still increase the lead for the constructors, but I mean, right now it's like a very likely that Nuco will eventually jump Lujan here. He's got to be quick though, or maybe he gets to that crossover point. I mean, he still has overtake to play with, so we'll actually check. Lujan doesn't have damage, he just doesn't have pace right now. No damage on the Exo AMR. And I am also seeing a jet that it's going to be Comer's first win in about 5 seasons or so. So I'm sure he'll be happy to get back to the top step of the podium. It'd be excellent for Comer. I mean, yeah, he's really romped away with this one. Even without overtake, he's not really under threat from anybody. Unless Nuco really fires on with these next few laps. We're about to go down to the final five laps of this race, so things could get really spicy here in these next upcoming laps. 1.6 seconds separates both Lujan and Nuco. Earlier on around the pit stop time, this gap was at 7 seconds, so a lot of time has been made up. So, gonna go ahead and we'll stay on board with this fight as we are down to the final 5 races of the final 5 laps of this race, I should say. Just taking a look at the previous winner. Okay, so Comer won on this track in 2022. He was a race winner here. At least out of the last 5 years, the only 2-time winner is a driver who is not currently here, being Whiteout. He won in 2020 and 2024. He was the last winner of this race. And then also another driver, Ratchet, won in 2021. I mean, this has been an excellent race here so far. I mean, obviously the red flags did kind of throw a wrench into the works, but I mean, 32 laps around this track. It's a long track, 7 kilometers in length, and you got to take that tour 36 times. I mean, I'd be tired too. So, I mean, the fatigue is setting in, I'm sure, for these drivers, especially because technically it would be 38 laps because of the 2 red flags, and also laps done in practice and qualifying. These drivers have probably done close to about 50 laps on this track today, let alone how much they did in testing and practice before today. So I know these drivers are getting really tired. The fuel though, fuel's a bit more of a concern though for Nuco than it is Lujan. So I wonder if there's going to be fuel management that will kind of play into effect for this race. Still more blue flags up ahead, but I think that was for Declan getting blue flagged again for P10 behind him. Oh, there's a spin in the backfield. Fennec gets turned around, although he's not really in harm's way for any driver. Yuki is about a minute ahead, and P23 is about 36 seconds behind. returning to the battle here for P2 and the lead of the Drivers' Championship. Illusion is getting closer and closer to securing P2 and also the lead of the Drivers' Championship. But something tells me Nuko is really going to fire it on here. Doesn't look like much of a difference for fuel, but we know Nuko is rapid, but we also know Illusion is rapid. Take a good look at the lap times. Once again, Nuko was quicker. A 1:55.10 versus a 54.8. So Nuko's definitely got the pace advantage right now, and he's got overtake. Illusion does not have overtake available to him. We'll stay on board with the Frenchman throughout the duration of this lap. I'm sure everything is kicking in right now for these drivers. He might be a bit dehydrated, might be tired, might be hungry, might just be generally like exhausted. And this is your weekly reminder from Rekus to go ahead and hydrate yourself. Hydration is very, very important. These drivers would not be performing to the top of their potentials without being fully hydrated. So be sure to hydrate. It is very important. Water is good for you. It may not taste as good as like a Red Bull, Monster, Ghost, or whatever drink you prefer to drink, but your body absolutely loves it. Just like Nuko is absolutely loving how close he is getting to Illusion right now, and he's looking like he's very likely to retake, or well, to kind of hold on to his lead in the Drivers' Championship. We'll go onto the rear wing camera of Illusion here and the EXO AMR. I mean, Nuko is getting so close to Illusion. Actually, it looks like Illusion got a little bit of a better exit through the chicane. It's pretty much going to be now or never for Nuko here. Nuko is really going to have to fight with everything humanly possible as we're sitting in the default player camera at the moment, watching as he just kind of chases down Nuko or Illusion here. He was a bit faster through sector 2 though, so it's looking very, very likely that Illusion might actually somehow hold on to P2 here. But Nuko still has overtake, and he's got about 2.5 laps to actually burn that overtake. This pair is about 7.5 seconds ahead. Oh no!